As she has mentioned, so we are all actually eager to have or rather see the presentation for tonight. And we are honored, and it's our pleasure to have Mr. Vijay Joshi as one of the presenter today. I'm just going to give you a small brief introduction about him. So Mr. Vijay Joshi is a physicist by training and a career geophysicist. He has led teams of exploration geophysicists in well lodging and surface investigations for mineral explorations and geotechnical projects, applying the electrical, electromagnetic, gravity, magnetic, seismic, thermal, and gamma radiation methods. He has several publications to his credit. As a Government of India's Class 1 officer, he received his administrative training at the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie in India. He served in India for about over 20 years. Back in United States, besides being a consulting geophysicist, he actually has his big or rather the large contribution in the teaching field. He taught AP Physics, B and C, AP Calculus, AB and BC at the Aquinas Institute, Rochester, New York for 20 years, and tutored AP and college students in physics, chemistry, and calculus for over 30 years. So many of his former students still reach out to him for his advice. Actually, one of the former students, one of the former high school students actually who got admitted or later landed at MIT, he was asked about a person who inspired him the most. And he mentioned Mr. Vijay Joshi's name. So it was an honor to have such kind of speaker with us. So he takes pride in getting students interested in math, science, and everything else we just mentioned. So with no further delays, introducing to Mr. Vijay Joshi, and it's all up to you, Vijay Kaka.
Can I request Rupali to unmute Mr. Vijay Joshi and also start his video?
Vijay Kaka, can't you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I have done that.
Great, great. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
We can.
Okay. So thank you, Alka, for the thoughtful introduction. Thanks to MKM Vice President Padmini Mahurkar. Thanks in advance to Rupali and technical team for their support. And of course, thanks to Vaishali, our daughter, for the slides and the logistic support. Next slide. Yeah. Here you see the map of India. In that map of India, Jaipur is pointed in the middle. And for reference, the New Delhi is slightly to the northeast of it, and Mumbai is further southwest of it. Jaipur is the capital of state of Rajasthan, and Jaipur's main tourist attraction is the United Nations World Heritage Center, the Jantar Mantar. Jantar means instrument, measuring instrument, and Mantar stands for computing. Jantar Mantar is an astronomical observatory. Jantars, that is the instruments, simultaneously read the local time and the position of celestial objects. Astronomers collect the data around the year. The data collected is subjected to mathematical processing, and the final products are almanac, horoscope, and precise prediction of date, time, and duration of the next eclipse. Next. This is a view of Jantar Mantar. As I said, it is an observatory with about 19 machines. And the giant one at the back is the first one. That jantar we'll discuss first, and there are several others afterwards. The next slide, please. Okay. This is Jaising 2. Jaising 2 was the king of Amer, a brilliant astronomer, engineer, town planner with an eye for beauty and perfection. He planned and completed the engineering, architecture, and scientific marvel of the world's largest stone observatory in 1727. Next, please. We'll talk a little bit about astronomy. On a clear night, this is how you see the sky with countless bright objects. Next, please. One thing is certain about them, they all appear to be circling around Earth with Earth at the center. And those which are close to us like Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, they appear to be bigger, and they also appear to be moving faster. And that's why we have clubbed them together as solar system. And the farthest ones, the stars, move much slower. Next, please. Yeah, those are clubbed into, one second, please. Okay. Okay. They are clubbed together into into 12 groups. That 12 groups are just like slices of pizza, each at the interval of 30 degrees angle with the center of the Earth. And all of you know these are called the constellations. So there are 12 constellations, and they take about 12 months to go around Earth once. Next, please. These are also known as sign of zodiacs. Other things that are observed in the sky are a few other things that are, one of them is solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is caused when moon blocks the sunlight and brings shadow or the darkness to a part of Earth. So here sun is the source of light. Moon blocks that light. It is also known as NOMO. Any object that blocks the light and its shade, it forms a shade on the other object. That object, like moon, is called a NOMO. We are going to use terminology more often in this. And there is Earth, which receives that shadow. So when this happens, it is called solar eclipse. Next, please. Yeah. So you see there are two different orbits of sun and moon around the Earth. The blue one is that of the moon, and the blue one is that of the moon, and the yellow one is that of the sun. So they complete the orbit, and when they come to the points, which are shown here as the descending node and ascending node, these are the points where the sun, moon, and the earth are in the same alignment. In the Indian mythology, these 2 points of intersection of 2 orbits are known as Rahu and Ketu. They are supposed to swallow the sun, and that's why we don't see the sun from the earth, because earth becomes in shadow. But in mythology, that is supposed to be 2 monsters which swallow sun. Okay, please, next. This is the lunar eclipse. In the lunar eclipse, sun is the source of light. Now earth shadow falls on the moon. So now earth becomes the NOMO, and the moon receives the shadow, and we cannot see the moon because of the shadow of earth falling on the moon, and that is the lunar eclipse. There is, next please, okay. there is another phenomena we watch in the earth, and uh, these are the phases of moon. So here the sun is on one side, earth is on the other side, and in the middle you will see the new moon night where we don't see any moon at all. But this is not an eclipse because technically in the eclipse, moon should form the nomo and its shadow should fall on the earth, but it doesn't fall any, there is no shadow of moon on the earth, and that's why we don't see moon. And that is the reason this is not called, new moon is not called an eclipse. Next, please. So we'll now, in the beginning of the Christian era, Ptolemy, with common sense, very strong common sense, because everything is circling around Earth, he created a model of Earth that is called the geocentric model of Earth. That is, Earth is at the center of the universe and universe is going around the Earth. Today we know that the Copernicus heliocentric, that is sun-centered model is the reality, not the Earth-centered. Jantar Mantar is based on the Ptolemy's geocentric model. And therefore, this was an extremely challenging venture because it was based on a wrong model, but it still worked. That is the most wonderful thing. Next, please. Okay. Over the centuries, the needed mathematics, it is the earliest known book on this type of mathematics is called Surya Siddhanta. So it is the earliest available document, and you will be glad to know that this document was in Sanskrit, and a missionary from Philadelphia went to India, learned Sanskrit, and translated this book into English. To develop education, equations, what does that mathematics do? It develops equation for the celestial objects moving with constant but different speeds in circular orbits. So each planet is moving with its own speed, but it is assumed that it is going in circles with the Earth as the center. Then here, if you look at this particular, because of the spherical symmetry, they had to develop what is known as spherical geometry. In the spherical geometry, the location of an object, that is the X that is shown here, it may be sun or it may be any star. The location is given by the angles R and theta. Here they have shown R, theta, and phi. Now what is going to happen is instrument after instrument in the Jantar Mantar is going to measure only two things. It is not going to measure R because it is impossible to go from even to the moon and measure the distance. So what they are going to do is measure everything in terms of angles. So two angles that you see here are altitude and azimuth. Altitude is the angle between the line joining the center of the earth to the star, that is the inclined straight line, and its angle with the horizontal. And as she is showing you with the arrow, that is the angle, the upper one. Yeah, that is altitude. That angle is altitude from dotted line to the horizontal diagonal line, that is altitude. And the z-axis is the vertical axis, while x-axis is towards the north, and the x-axis is north-south axis, and y-axis is the east-west axis. So what angle that triangle makes with the north is called azimuth. So azimuth is one angle that it is going to measure, and altitude is another angle that is going to measure. Later on, we'll see that they developed a cosine law, which gives us the distance also. But as far as this observatory is concerned, we will measure only two angles, azimuth and altitude. Next, please. And now how to measure the time? We have measured the position. Our instruments are measuring the position, but at what time? For that, what were used were sundials. Again, sundial has two parts. One is that inclined part that is known as the NOMO. Again, we are using the same terminology. So sun's rays are blocked by the NOMO and its shadow falls on the dial. That horizontal circular thing is called dial. And that dial, the shadow moves with the sun. Right now, as you see in this picture, it is showing the time of 2 p.m. So you can read off the hour at that time. Next, please. Yeah, the most important type of dial that is used, the most important type of dial that is used here, and that is called the equatorial plate sundial. In this case, say for example, if you want to use equatorial plane dial at London, the latitude of London is 51 degrees and 30 minutes. So what does that mean? Is if the North Pole and South Pole axis of rotation is shown as a vertical red line there, and the east-west is shown as horizontal line at the center, then the angle, the London position, it is on the right side of the circle. The actual position of London is on the right side of the circle in the first quadrant. And that angle with the horizontal or east-west is at 51.30 degrees is what is London's latitude. So the red line that is shown, can you show with the arrow? The line that is shown here, that is the horizontal for London. And with that horizontal, if an angle of 51.30 degrees is NOMO is placed, a stick is placed at that angle, it will look in London like the diagram that is shown of a disc and the right. That diagram, that is how it will look in London. So that stick, as you will see in that sketch, the upper sketch, it is parallel to the north-south axis, yes. So in London also, this will be parallel to the north-south axis. And the dial will be, it will be like being at equator. What is the advantage of this? At the equator, the sun rises at 6 a.m., sun sets at 6 p.m., and it moves uniformly between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So if you mark on that circle the point where the shadow falls at 6 a.m. and the other shadow which is at 6 p.m., it will be exactly diagrammatical opposite. And you can divide that circle, that semicircle, exactly in 30 degrees to get, or 15 degrees to get 24 hours, or 24 radial directions like that. And you can exactly read off the hours from that, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So even if this dial is not on equator, you can create the same effect by putting the NOMO in a proper angle. Next, please. Yeah, this is my first introduction to the sundial. This was when I was 6 or 7 years old. One of the construction workers, this is what I sketched recently, but one of the construction workers used to have a slanted stick, and when the shadow came to a certain point, he will take off and go home. He knew it was his time to go home. Good. Then we'll go to the jantars now, the instrument, the measuring instruments. Samrat Yantra, the world's largest sundial. It is an equatorial sundial, and the NOMO is 88 feet tall, angle at 27 degrees, which happens to be the latitude of Jaipur. So it makes it an equatorial sundial. Measures the local time in the interval of, you will be surprised, 2 seconds. That is the accuracy. The least count it has is 2 seconds. It also measures what is called hour angle, declination of sun and stars. Don't worry about those terminologies. They are simply the azimuth, the angle with the north, and they are simply the altitude, the vertical height. Next, please. Yeah, this beauty is Samrat Yantra. It is such a big giant, but beautiful giant. It's a when you go close to it, you will see how beautifully that semicircular arc there. That is the dial, and the vertical steps that you are seeing. That is the Momo. Next, please. Yeah, this is how it looks. And that semicircular arc, which is the dial, and the 27 degrees angled, right angle triangle is it's Nomo. And you also see the shadow that is falling on the semicircle. So if the sun is on the west side, the shadow will be on the eastern side. As the sun comes to the noon height, it will be right over it and there won't be any shadow. When it goes to west, the shadow will be on the eastern side and like that. So it is marked off exactly at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It is marked off, but because it is that Jaipur is not exactly at the equator, also because of the motion of the earth, its orbital is elliptical, not circular and all that. So there is time correction needed, and that time correction is easy to make to match it with the standard time of India. The line passes through Allahabad, India. There is only one standard time in India. Next, please. This is a close-up picture of the shadow, and you still cannot see, but there are markings at 2 seconds interval on this. And this Samrat is a multi-purpose instrument. It not only measures the time, but at the same time, it does couple of things more also that are also surprising. Go to the next one, please. Okay. You can measure the altitude of the sun. Remember that angle that we showed with the incline and the horizontal? So here it needs, for doing these observations, it needs minimum of 2 people. A is standing on the semicircular arc with a hollow metal tube in his hand with both ends open. And through that tube, he aims at either the sun or any in the daytime or any star in the nighttime he is interested in. But he sees that his vision and the age of the the triangular gnomon, they are exactly in the same alignment. The person's eye, the Nomo age, and the star, they are in the same alignment. And then another person who is on the steps, he walks up the steps with a vertical rod in his hand. And as soon as he reaches a position B, where that vertical hand in his rod blocks the vision of that person and the star or sun, he is asked to stop there. At the age, it is calibrated with, it is graduated reading the altitude of the sun or that star that it is looking at. And on the steps, there are graduations for reading the azimuth angle, the angle with the north is mentioned there. So he takes that reading, and shadow at the same time tells them at what time they took the reading. Next, please. There is one more thing there, and that also is amazing. There is a pinhole camera in this structure. On the left side, where Vaishali has shown you a red dot here, it is not that big. It is a very small hole there. It is actually a couple of holes there next to each other. When the sunlight goes through that, inside, it falls inside what is a black, dark room. In that dark room, there is now this Nomo here you see is oriented in the north-south direction. The circular ring is in the east-west direction. So that inside that dark room, there is another 60 degrees circular ring there, wooden ring there. And that wooden ring is also not in the north-south direction, but it is 60 degrees, means 1/6 of a circle. And when the light falls, sun's image falls like a pinhole camera, when it falls on that surface is graduated to read the altitude as well as the azimuth of sun. Next slide, please. As well as it measures the diameter of the image of the sun. It keeps track of that also. Next, please. Okay. Dakshinottar Bhatti Yantra. Now what you saw in the Samrat Yantra, where a triangular shape, a circular shape, then you saw a pinhole, a semicircular shape, and now you will see the different geometric shape with each of the machines that we'll be talking about. So this Dakshinottar Bhatti Yantra is Dakshinottar in Sanskrit means north-south. So it is going to be oriented in the north-south direction. It measures the angles with the meridian, altitude, and the zenith distance. Next slide, please. Okay, so this beautiful Dakshinottar Bhatti Yantra is a rectangular wall. It's a giant wall, but it's a rectangular wall. Within that, do you see the details and the designs that are made to make it very comfortable and to make it look beautiful? The semicircular arc that you see there with a diameter is the top of the wall, and there are steps there. So right in the middle of that, on both sides of this wall, there is a nomo. That nomo is just a small rod perpendicular to the wall. And this is Dakshinottar Bhatti Yantra is used mainly at the noon time, because at the noon time, the shadow of that nomo is the longest there. And on that circular arc are marked the altitude angles, altitude angles, and a person walks to the steps, goes across up to the point where the shadow is, and marks them off, extends them with something to the semicircular arc and reads the values there. There is the other side of this. Next, please. The western side of it. On the western side, it is the same thing. There is nomo at the center. Instead of circular arc now, he used to love geometry. He has split them into two quarter circle arc, and each one is again graduated like the other side from 0 to 90 degrees. Again, wherever the shadow is, orientation of that shadow is seen from the step. Person has to walk up and down, and usually this is used in the noon time. What is the advantage of that? On the day of equinox, Samrat Yantra, for obvious reason, doesn't work. That's why this is very useful on that particular day. Next, please. Then we go to another interesting yantra. It is called Digmasa Yantra. It measures the azimuth of sun to calculate the time of sunrise and also sunset, its forecast. Next, please. Okay. This is Digmasa Yantra. Again, we are going into a new geometry. This involves 3 cylinders. As you can see, in the middle, there is a cylindrical pillar there. Then there is a cylindrical surface going around this, hollow cylinder going around this, and there is another one outside. The pillar and the inner cylinder, they are of the same height. The outer one is twice the height of the inner two, that is the pillar and the inner cylinder. The outer cylinder is twice the height. And the surfaces of each of the three of them are made up of marble, and they are again graduated for different types of readings. Next, please. Okay, this is how it works. The function is like this. You see two cross wires there. One is oriented in the north-south direction. The other is oriented in the east-west direction. They were very tight, and they intersect at the center, and that point is right over the center of the pillar. Okay, next, please. Yeah, this is how the readings are taken. So uh, there is that central pillar you see. Then this, because this is a cross section, you see only the two parts as two blocks, the inner cylinder and outer cylinder. There is one person standing between the inner cylinder and the outer cylinder. He has again, just like Samrat Yantra, again he has a hollow tube in his attached to his face or to his eyes, and through those eyes he aligns the center of the north, south, east, west wire, and then the whatever object he is looking at. There is another person outside, and that person has to move till the string that is attached to the center of the cross section, cross wires, he aligns that, and then he aligns it with the same plane. So the view of this person and the string, that view, dotted line and this string, they are exactly in the same plane. Now that person who is inside, he reads from that pillar, he reads of the altitude angle, and the person outside on the top of the cylinder he's at, he reads of the azimuth angle. Good. So this is another plan view from the top. Okay. Next is Rashi Valaya Yantra. Those who are interested in horoscope will like this one. Rashi Valaya Yantra is actually 10 different machines, 10 different instruments, 12 different jantars. They measure the ecliptic coordinates of the stars, planets, and all 12 constellation system. Don't worry about those things. They are essentially altitude and they are azimuth. Go ahead. All right, these are the 12 beauties. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the front line, 1, 2, 3 in the middle line, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the rear line. All those you will see, they are the small version of Samrat Yantra, the first one we saw, but they are totally disoriented. They are in different directions. They are at different angles. They are no more at 27 degrees. Because each one is associated with one zodiac sign. There are 12 zodiac signs, and therefore these instruments are there to follow those 12 zodiac signs. As each of the zodiac sign comes in the meridian of Jaipur, each one assigned one for that particular zodiac sign, they will start using that to do the observations. So now that, and because those zodiac signs come at different levels, that's why these things are at different angles. What do they do? In the zodiac sign, they watch its movement. They see what are the positions of different planets during that time. And they also watch the transition of sun through various zodiac signs. And in India, when the sun transits from one particular zodiac to another particular zodiac in January, that is where we celebrate Makar Sankranti. Next, please. Then we go to Ramayantra. Ramayantra is another interesting feature of Jantar. It measures again altitude and azimuth of the sun. Okay. Okay, this is Ramayantra is actually a twin. There are twin instruments, but they are not identical twins. Now you see those Ram Yantras in the front, they have gaps and pillars. So where one has gap, the other has pillar there. So they are complementary to each other. Next, please. Now, this is one of the close-ups of one of the jantars, Ram Yantra. You see in the middle, there is a rod in the right and the center, and that rod at the center acts as a nomo. And then horizontally, there is a wooden floor, which is like an inverted ceiling fan with several blades. So each of them, actually, it is a continuous floor and with slides like pizza, and the alternate ones are missing. Alternate slices are missing. Where do they go? Go into the other machine because these have to be complemented to each other. So where there is a missing or there is a gap in that fan blades, that has gone to the other machine, and there is a reason why they have created a twin. Next, please. Okay. The shadow of the Nomo, it falls on the wooden floor, which is again graduated. You can somehow see there's something, if you can see the details, that they are graduated. So the length of the shadow of the Nomo gives you the time of the day. And it also measures the circumference of this whole floor, measures the orientation or azimuth, and also some graduation is there for measuring on the walls for measuring the altitude. So this is the person who is doing the observation sits between the two planks, wooden planks on the floor, and then he takes those readings. Also, like other instruments we saw, he sits there with a hollow tube. That hollow tube, top of the rod, Nomo, top of the Nomo, and the celestial object, when they are aligned, he takes the observation graduated scale, and then he takes the altitude, and all those altitude and the azimuth are measured there. Supposing the shadow here, for example, doesn't fall on the wooden plank, it falls in between gap. Then he moves to the other jantar, the twin part of the jantar, and goes there, and there that gap is a solid wood, so he can take the length of the shadow and other measurements there. Thank you. Next one. Then Jai Prakash Yantra. It has two dials. Now this is the most beautiful machine that is there, and it is two sundials, different faces of instrument. Again, they are complementary to each other, and the two represent the north and south. What is done there is, it is when you look at the sky, whatever you are seeing in the sky as an hemisphere, it is replicated but upside down. So you are looking down at the hemisphere, then looking up at the hemisphere. Next, please. All right. So this is how it looks. Okay, one moment, please. Okay. So here, if you, Jai Prakash Yantra is the most beautiful and the most elaborated and the complex instrument. It is made up of two nearly identical hemispheres with diameter of 5 meters each. Like Ramayantra, the interior is divided into segments, and steps between the segments are the access to the observer. The two hemispheres are image of celestial sphere. Their marble surfaces. Okay, you can show the next, please. You see the beauty of it. This is all marble surface, and those lines that are calibrated so perfectly with such a precision. That's why it was his most favorite. If those two hemispheres are joined together, they would look like this. The circles measure the azimuth, the other lines, which are non-circular lines, they measure the altitude. And if you see here in the middle, there is a small disc there, black disc. Can you show them? Yeah, no, here. Right. So that black disc you see there, there is a little hole there. And the hole, the shadow of that hole, the sun rays pass through that and create a shadow of sun. And as that travel through, that also gives you the idea of the time of the day and where the sun is moving, along which track. Okay. And that is why it was his most favorite instrument, Jai Singh's most favorite. And the surface is a beautiful marble surface. And for your information, this is the same Makrana mine from which in Rajasthan, the state of which Jaipur is capital, that marble was used, the same marble was used for making Taj Mahal. Oh. All right, good. Now in conclusion, the final product of this is, I said, first thing is what they do is they organize the data. And this is called the FRMS. And every year, even the Naval Observatory of United States, it also publish its own data or almanac in this form. There are so many details given here, but essentially basic things that are observed are the altitude and the azimuth. And then it can be converted because 5 or 6 different types of coordinate axes are used for various purposes, and they give you all those things. So this is like forming the almanac. Next, please. Then the horoscope. The horoscope this is Indian horoscope. Indian horoscope, there are 12 houses. They are numbered there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So 12 are those signs of zodiac. They are given the numbers 1, 2, 3. So 1 is a particular zodiac sign and 2, and there's go in that order. So what these houses tell, each house tells you about certain thing about you when you are born. This is made on the day you are born. All you have to do, now it is all computerized. You have to give them the date of birth and the time of birth, precise time of birth. They will put this data in the 12 boxes according to whichever zodiac sign is present at the meridian, at that particular place. They will put it in one box, and the others will go around in clockwise order. And each box tells you something about you, about your longevity, your health, your wealth, your education, and all those things. In addition to that, in the Indian system, it is not only the distant stars or those constellations affect your future, but it is also the near one, the moon. The position of moon at the time of your birth also affects. Now moon goes around earth in about 28 months. So that circle, the celestial circle, instead of 12, now is further divided into 28 sections, equal sections. And the star configurations within them, they are given different names. And in India, they are called nakshatras. So there are 28 nakshatras. Those nakshatras which are present in that constellation, in that box, are also mentioned there in that. And so that tells you about your horoscope. The most beautiful part is the next one. No, is it? The next one, it is the sun and moon for say, for example, solar eclipse. Sun and moon have to, and the earth have to be at the same alignment at the same time. And as you have noticed that if earth, moon and sun, they are in the same alignment, this is a new moon day. And in the new moon day, on the new moon day, there is a possibility of solar eclipse, but as I said, technically it is not solar eclipse, unless they come to the same alignment. So that means same position for them, angular position at the same time. So that's why we have been observing, and we're using the Vedic mathematics. The beauty is it comes down to only a quadratic formula in time. That is, highest power of t is t squared. And everybody knows in high school how to solve a quadratic equation. Other coefficients are the observed things. In an almanac, all you have to do is substitute the values. And this is an illustration where they have taken the values from the almanac published by, I believe it was in 1981, published by the Naval Observatory in United States. They substituted the values and they found exact time and the duration of time, because there will be two solutions. It's a quadratic equation. You'll get one solution T1, another solution T2. The smaller one will tell you the beginning time, the larger one will tell you the end time, and the difference between them will give you the duration of solar eclipse. So this is so beautiful that they could do it with a wrong model. And it is so beautiful that Jai Singh could build such a spectacular thing which has lasted 300 years. It's an engineering marvel, because to keep that building holding with same orientation same orientation for 300 years, same graduated accuracy for 300 years, it is amazing. Then one more thing I want to say about Jai Singh. Jai Singh's father, Sawai Jai Singh I, was the one who is very well known in India because he was instrumental in bringing about the historical meeting between the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb and the Maratha king Shivaji. He brought them together in Delhi, and that was his father. He was also Jai Singh, but it was quite a few years before. That meeting approximated with the Newton's time. Okay, then one more thing I would like to add is that there are other byproducts of this wrong model they started with, and that is cosine formula. As I said, cosine formula was developed by Indian mathematicians to find out the distance. When you know the angles, you can convert that into a distance. That is the cosine formula. Then, more important thing is, as you will see in this formula, it involves cosine function. Sometimes there are sine functions also. The sine and cosine functions, they've developed a method for calculating sine and cosine functions with small increments. So it amounted to forming a truncated series, not an infinite series of 10, 15 terms. Their accuracy increased, accuracy of cosine of any angle increased, and that resulted finally into what is called differential calculus. So Indians use the accuracy of sine and cosine theta to improve their horoscope, while Europeans use the improvement in the defining sine and cosine of angle. In navigation, they conquered the whole world because of the navigation accuracy. And Indians, what did they get? Indians got Joshi. You know what Joshi is? Joshi is a fortune teller. Okay. And then this is just a joke, so don't take it seriously. And Vaishali will go through some pictures of our visit to Jantar Mantar. Yeah.
When did you go?
We went there around 2018. We have gone through all of this, so I won't repeat their names like Ram Yantra. You see the, okay. Thank you, Alka. Please take over.
Thank you so much, Vijay Kaka. Extremely informative presentation. And I have personally not visited, but while looking at this now, it's one of the goal to go and visit that along with the kids.
Yeah.
So actually, we do have few. I think there is a question and few comments over here.